think Dr. Oliveira before this podcast interview, and he was talking about, I still prefer to stay below the bone. He wanted me to ask that question from you. Why are you going against the common knowledge right now?
Well, that's it. I'm taking on the industry with that one. Let me tell you why they go subcrestal. Okay. They go subcrestal because the implants have a blasted surface and they don't want it to become exposed to the soft tissue. So they push it down.
They bury it.
They bury it a couple millimeters, thinking they're accomplishing something when bone grows over the shoulder. You don't even want the shoulder. The shoulder is there because the implant only has one connection. So the wider implants using the same abutment creates a shoulder, which is a niche. If you lose some tissue and bone, you got an undercut that's hard to clean. If you're going to have a leaking margin, do you want it occurring in the bone or do you want it occurring above the bone? So there's studies that clearly show placing it supracrestal gives you less bone loss than subcrestal. I cite that. I didn't open up the links, but it was in that presentation. There's also shows that you get less stability. If you move it below the cortical bone, like the Megagen advertises and a lot of dentists do, you've given up the best part of your stability, that cortical bone that's there. And if you want to have a connection that's easy to get to, and also if you go below the bone, you usually need to contour the crest of the ridge. They got drills that go in and flat and open up the opening so you can get your flared abutment in. A lot of extra steps that are unnecessary. Just another advantage of a millimeter above the bone is you get soft tissue attachment to that millimeter that is not disrupted when you take off the healing collars and the abutments and the transfers. Now, this concept is advocated by Straumann, who has a 2.8 millimeter neck, and they recommend some of them are pushing the smooth neck in now. They don't know how much, but they're pushing it in, but they're leaving the connection above and the smooth neck above. Nobel has come up with On One. Some of their key opinion leaders said, no, look, we don't want to be chasing this connection down in a deep hole. Let's give us a healing collar we can attach that we can then use as the platform for the abutment. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I just solve all those problems
by just sticking it out.
By making the implant a millimeter longer, having a smooth neck so you can vary the height, and then taking it to the next step with a friction fit extender that comes with the implant and can be taken off if you ever need to get back and becomes an abutment. It just makes sense. I think I can convince the profession it's the way to go.
Do that. I think when Steve Ballmer handed the baton to Satya at Microsoft, I read it somewhere, give him one advice: be bold and be right. I think you're bold with that movement, and I'm sure you're going to be right in that. And convince the industry.
I'm not standing alone because I basically have got Straumann and Dan Boozer and Tarno, and those guys are advocating a hybrid design, and get the connection above. So the biggest stories, except they don't have the right implant to do it. You know, if they put a Straumann implant in with a 2 millimeter neck in the soft tissue, then now they got the rough surface right at the level of the bone, and it's going to get exposed. If they push it down, they can do that, but there's no lines and no way to control that.
Any complications on the soft tissue recession is going to expose the body of the implant? Any of those? 'Cause I think that was another question.
If you got soft tissue recession and exposes it, better it should be smooth, because if you get a rough surface exposed, now you got plaque and biofilm, and that's what leads to progressive bone loss. So I don't care if it gets exposed. What does it matter if the first 2 millimeters above the tissue is a smooth abutment or smooth implant?
Right.
As long as it's smooth.
That's right.